Check, check. Okay. Welcome back to the second stream of the day. This time we'll be flying the Daimond 42. And as I understand it, similar to the, or just like the CRJ that we flew a few minutes ago, this aircraft also features a sound set done by or produced by the Boris Audio Works studio. And I have to say, for that reason, I love this plane. I'm not a fan. Those who have been following me for a while now know that I'm not a fan. I'm a bit of a purist when it comes to aviation. That being said, I'm not a big fan of G1000 or glass cockpit aircraft, but I am more than happy to make an exception just because the sound set is so impressive. I work at an airport. I'll say sometimes I work at an airport, and at that airport there is a flight school that makes use of these aircraft, and it's a bit of like an uncanny valley situation, an audible uncanny valley situation when I hear these aircraft fly past. It's perfect. He really nailed this one. And for that I'm sure many of us fellow audiophiles out there are very thankful. So, the plan of action. Let's get a hold of this flight plan of ours. Excuse me, I've got allergies again. So I'll be sniffing on occasion here. So I'm just going to call up this flight plan quickly that I made, and then I'm going to make it visible to all of you. Let's see. Right, so we'll be departing Bloemfontein, the airport that we landed at earlier with the CRJ, and we'll be making our way to the coastal city of Durban. Instead of landing at Durban King Shaka International Airport, where I believe there isn't really a GA apron. It actually, I think Apron Echo might be a GA apron, but I figured it'll be more fun to fly to this general aviation airport called Virginia, just to the south of the field. I just thought that'd be more appropriate as we're flying a nice light general aviation aircraft. Because we're light and unpressurized, and we do not have a supplementary supply of oxygen on board, we'll be limited to 10,000 feet for our cruise level today. More specifically 9,500 as we filed a VFR flight plan. That will make for some interesting flying as we'll be crossing over Lesotho, which is this landlocked country within South Africa. It is a very mountainous nation, and as you can see, we will be flying directly over it. And the MSA here, if I'm not mistaken, is 13,600 feet. We filed for 9,500, so there's a good chance that we'll have to be weaving through some mountainous terrain here. We've got a peak here at 8,700, which is okay, but here it's 9,462, which is at the same level of our cruise altitude. So we'll see if we'll be able to make it through here. I believe we're only limited to 30 minutes above 10,000 feet. I don't know, according to the FAA, I think general aviation, You can spend, I think if it's above 12,500, you're limited to 30 minutes. But if you're flying commercially, I don't know what part number that is, you're limited to 30 minutes above 10,000 feet. So we're going to play it safe, and we're going to say that we're limited to 30 minutes above 10,000 feet. So we'll stay at 9,500 with the option to climb a little bit higher. If there's air traffic control, we'll just request permission to do so. Although I believe, you know, as long as we're underneath, I think majority of this airspace is uncontrolled. I don't think we'll reach, you know, the Class C airspace only starts here, and it's only starting at flight level 145. I don't think we'll get that high. We might, we'll see. But even if we do, I'd imagine that the center controller airspace would not begin at flight level 145. But we'll see. We'll work with any air traffic control that comes online if they do. Otherwise, we'll just make sure that we announce our intentions on the Unicom frequency as we go along. So yeah, without further ado, let's get things started. Let's close this chart for you guys before I forget to do so. I don't know what's going on with the sound. I replayed the CRJ stream just to check out the sound quality of the stream, and it seems like OBS is now almost muting the external or the simulator sounds every time I stop speaking. That might just be because the CRJ sounds were quite soft. I should have turned them up. I didn't really bother to check to hear if my volume levels were correct for the last stream. But I anticipate that things are going to get significantly louder now as we jump into the Daimond. I did turn up the volume a little bit. I might have to turn it down again, but we'll see. I'll try and make an effort to actually listen to the sounds once we're airborne. If you stop hearing me after the takeoff just because the volume overwhelms me, just forgive me, and just some patience is requested as I try and figure out the optimum levels here for our volumes. So here we are in Zulu Sierra Delta Foxtrot Kilo. It's myself and my flight instructor. That scared me. I don't know if that sound came from FS Realistic or if something fell here next to me in real life. But anyways. So yeah, it's the two of us on board, no passengers. We have 30 kgs of luggage just in the back there for our overnight stay in Durban. Might not be overnight actually, because we're going to jump into another aircraft to make our way towards Cape Town. That's still to be confirmed. But for now, let's jump into our aircraft here. Just want to double check we are online. Yes, we are, and there's no air traffic control present at the moment. So let's get started. So yeah, as you can see, we've got a little joystick here between our legs. No pun intended. And we have our rudder pedals. I don't know where the brakes are for this thing, because it doesn't look like if I depress my actual brake pedals, it's not yielding a response. That's interesting. I wonder if there is another way to be braking in this thing. Anywho, and then we've got one single control lever for the power, one for each engine. This is FADEC operated engine system. In fact, I hear it's quite revolutionary because it's running on, if I'm not mistaken, jet fuel. There was a sticker here. We can't zoom in close enough to read it, but I think this particular model runs on jet fuel, and pretty much everything is controlled by a computer. Well, one of two, I think. The ECU A and ECU B. So from prop pitch to fuel mixture, that's all handled by the engine control unit, which I assume is what ECU stands for. Right, let's get going here. We're going to first just get the battery power online. Oof, listen to that. I don't know if I should. I'm feeling like I should turn the sounds down of the sim here. If I look at my voice levels, yeah, I think maybe there will be better. Okay, so I'm not sure if you're going to be able to hear the radios. Let me just check here quickly the settings for the audio. It says headset, so hopefully you'll be able to hear it. If we do talk to someone, that is. All right, I believe in engine and system, we should be able to see our battery volts. So they're in the green, so I feel like that's obviously going to be good enough. Let's close the canopy, I think you can call it. We'll open up here to hear some of that as V1 simulations would say, juicy engine sounds. As you can tell, he's, or probably tell, he's one of my favorite YouTubers at the moment. As cringy as that might sound. Or grown man to say. Anyways, let's get this thing started. Enough wasting time. So, if I'm not mistaken, it's going to be... I haven't mapped that yet. Okay, so...
Clear prop.
These guys come on. And we're going to start number 2 first. Engine and lever, I believe, need to be at idle. So here we go. You also want to make sure the parking brake is engaged, which it should be by default. Alright, so we're going to look for oil pressure, which we have. So let's go on to number 1 here. Ooh. Ooh, that sounds good. Okay, let's just close that up so that I'm not totally drowned out by the music. Also, just want to double check that we have oil pressure for that engine as well, which we do. We filled up as much fuel as we could. So we are pretty close to our gross takeoff weight, or max takeoff weight. And we got to keep that in mind because we are 4,500 feet above sea level. Let's get the avionics master switch on here. Test our radios. Check, check.
Check, check.
Okay, that's working. So we're going to go over to the usual guard frequency of 1215. And the Unicom frequency 1228. I think it'll be cool once CTAF becomes a thing. Hopefully it'll become a thing for the rest of the world.
Pause system test. Okay.
Alright, so we're going to quickly check this map here, or this chart rather. Let's bring it up for you guys as well. So we're going to target MZV. I don't know why it's not showing up. 1172. 1172. As a backup, we'll have 1142, I believe it is. 141. Let's Bloemfontein, and the course will be 134. Now we can use the GPS, and I will pop the routing into the GPS, but for now, I'm going to use conventional navigation. Or we'll at least set it up, but use GPS navigation unless we see unless we have issues with the GPS. VFR squawk in my country is 2000. We're on standby. Let's get the flight plan in here. It has actually been a while since I've flown this simulator. Let's go with FABL. We're going to FAVG and new. We will be going from Mike's to the Victor. I know we can use the keyboard for this, but it's more immersive not to. PMV. And that looks good to me. We're going to be climbing to 9,500 feet initially. Well, for now, at least. We have the airfield elevation in. I'm not going to use the speed references on here. I don't have any of the sort of tables that will help me with that sort of information, so I'll figure that sort of information out. So just rotate at I'd say between 80 or 90 knots. We'll just do it gently to make sure that we've got enough lift. So that we do not strike the tail. You can see the tail's quite low to the ground. Sounds amazing. Alright, so we're going to go on to GPS navigation. I think we're good. And I don't see any reason why we can't. Probably be bad to do a run up here because there's a bit of construction going on there. So we'll do it at the holding point. Alright, let's just make sure that my controls are all mapped and working. And we'll make our taxi. In traffic, Daimond 0 Delta Foxtrot Kilo, taxi to the short runway 02 from the general aviation apron. Bloemfontein traffic. on my head tracker. No one coming that way. Ah, there's the jet fuel sign. Good. I believe the winds are fairly calm, so I'm not going to be too pedantic about the direction I'm going to face. I just want to make sure we're not going to blow any dust or pebbles onto any, someone that might be parking behind us. So just kind of take the outside of this turn and just point ourselves in the opposite direction. I mean, away from traffic behind us. Okie dokie. So, parking brake is set, flaps are up. Let's do the run-up checks here. So we're first going to check to see that the alternators are working. I believe we go to this thing. Yeah. Turn one alternator off and you'll see that the amps pick up on the other and drop on the one that we turned off. Now they share the load again. Same for the other one. Great. So we'll check, we'll do the left engine first, so you make sure we're at idle, parking brake is set, and hold the button in. We'll do one more cycle. Wait for the warnings to clear on the annunciator, and then you know it's done. It's that simple. Do it for the right engine. Just listen to that. Ugh. One more time. Maybe. Right, I just remembered. The freaking chart is still in the way. Apologies for that. Right, so I do believe we can use an approach flap setting for the takeoff. And the trim is just going to be left sort of there, just above the takeoff notch, I would say. All right. So let's go. I'm gonna hit the landing light, strobe lights, transponder. Alt. Didn't hear anyone on the radio. They're on the correct frequency. Haven't seen one coming or going. Lufthansa traffic. Diamond Zulu Sierra Delta Foxtrot Kilo. Lining up departing runway 02. Right hand turnout to the south. Climbing flight level 0905. Lufthansa traffic. There's more to the southwest, I think. Southeast. Southeast. Oh well. Neither here nor there. No one's around. I don't know if we need to turn the fuel pumps on. We're going to do it anyways, and the P2 heat can come on as well. Alright, here we go. Oh my goodness. Oh! How can you not? Oh my goodness, there's more. 60 knots. So we're gonna wait for about 80 to 90. There's 80. Let's gently rotate. See what happens. Up, we're up. And tap the brakes. Gear up. And the yaw damper can come on. Oof. Oh, she sounds amazing. Super loud for me. I'm gonna probably turn down the volume. This might be shouting as well, I just realized. Ooh. I'm just gonna stay quiet and appreciate the sounds. Alright, flaps coming up. Buttons here. Nav, there we go. Oops, turbulence. I don't know. I think you use full power for the climb as well. Can't remember. Like this climb is still really steep because I mean we only rotated at like 80. So let's I think target like top of the white arc. Oh, we're actually 1,000 feet away from our assigned altitude already. anyway don't want to be climbing more than 1,000 feet per minute in an unpressurized aircraft. I forgot about that. So just because it would be really unpleasant for the ears, inner ear to be precise. Just confirm 95 is selected, and we do have altitude select armed. There it comes into play. And all told, GPS mode is engaged, so we are following our pre-planned track. Alright, shouldn't be that loud for me. I'm gonna just come back on the power a little bit and also go silent here for about a minute or two, just so I can make sure that the volumes are still good for you guys. And make sure I'm not going to wander into the yellow arc there, because it is kind of bumpy still, so yeah. Initially I was thinking I wouldn't, I know I said it would go quiet, but just wanted to mention this one thing. And that is, initially I was kind of reluctant to do this flight, because it is a bit on the far side. At least far for, you know, I actually have no idea what the cruise speed of this thing is. And let's just double check the range here. Every time I look at my tablet, I see the, oh, there it is, finally, that's what I was just about to say. They have updated the 146 Professional, so now I know exactly what plane we're going to fly later. I just got to think about it. I'm going to see if I can fit it in somewhere, because I still want to do a flight in the 737. I want to do a flight in the A320, and I want to do a flight in the 146. I might skip the 7.3, I'm not sure. But anyways, let me just figure this volume situation out and I'll be right back. check 1, 2, check. Okay. I'm not gonna have to mess with that a little bit more later. I think it's my headset. I set it to my headset as a source, and I think the headset automatically lowers the sound of the sim. As said, you can hear when I speak, but I'm noticing that I don't know if it's OBS or if it's the headset, but it's lowering the sim sounds drastically to the point where sometimes I feel like I can't hear anything. Okay, so maybe this is better because I think I noticed having changed the audio source, now it's too loud. So I guess that last one was a bit too soft. Maybe this is better? How about now? I think this thing's changing the volume without me even trying. Leave it at that for now. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Hopefully you guys can hear the aircraft as well. Quite disappointed to see that I feel like you guys couldn't hear enough of the CRJ in the previous stream. And even on takeoff now in this thing, I was like overwhelmed by the sound. I think I left the volume up too loud, my personal volume. It just felt like I was in the real thing without headset. But listening back on the stream now, I feel like you guys can barely hear it. Anyway, so I hope this is better. I'll listen back again a little later. First, let's just try and catch up with the aircraft here. So as you can tell, it's quite turbulent. You don't really want to be in turbulence when you're in the yellow there, so we're going to try and stay out of the yellow. A little bit further than before because I anticipate it might get a bit bumpy over the mountains up ahead, so might have to come even further back, so we'll see, but we'll wait till we get closer before we worry about that. So yeah, as I was saying earlier, I was kind of in two minds about doing this flight because it might take quite a while. I think what's our true airspeed is 160, our ground is 167, so we've got a bit of a tailwind, which is nice. And the trip range in total is 254 nautical miles. So that's going to be like, what, I don't know, an hour and 40 minutes or something, 35? So I'm not sure if I really wanted to do that long a flight in this aircraft. But when I looked at the routing, I thought, you know what? Let's give it a go. It could be really interesting. One of the best points of this sim, and I've said it many times before, is the fact that it's, you know, the first time we can actually, well, first time since 2022, since 2020, since we can actually fly VFR almost anywhere in the world. It's a VFR sim, I would say, but it's equally as fun to be flying IFR here. But again, never before 2020 has it been equally as fun to fly a general aviation aircraft. And I figure I can spend a lot of time above the clouds. Let's do a low and slow cross country. We run out of time today to fly more planes, we run out of time. But let's give this one a go and see if we can actually make it over this this mountain range ahead of us without having to climb much higher. And if we do, we'll set a timer so we make sure we're not higher than 10,000 feet for more than 30 minutes. It's a good way to explore a part of my country that I've never explored before. And you know, yeah. What more can you say? There should be some striking scenery ahead of us. These sounds are amazing. And this guy, I don't know. I would say this is probably his best sound set. I own his 172, even the 152. CRJ, and now I think I own all his sound sets except one. The one that I don't have is either, I think it's for an aircraft I don't have. An aircraft I don't care to fly. I'd say he needs to give us a King Air sound set that's as good as this. Beautiful that is. A whole, almost like a valley, river. It's beautiful here. Kind of beautiful. All these plateaus here. flying on the QNH that I had having left or at Bloemfontein. I'm not going to change it now. If we need to climb, we need to climb. Coming up to our first waypoint here, Mike, Zulu, Victor. 8 miles from that point. Let's check the chart here. Is that at an airport? Quite a big bump, and look how much closer to the yellow barber pole we are. Should be an airport around here somewhere. Where is it? It must be to the north of the VOR. On top of this escarpment. Excuse the teleportation skills here. There it is. Oh, it's Maseru. I think this is the capital country. Maseru traffic, Daimond Sierra Delta Foxtrot Kilo is about 4 miles southwest of the field, 9,500 feet, routing to the southeast. Maseru traffic. I think Maseru is the capital of Lesotho. Don't let my primary school teachers hear me say that. Man, I should have made coffee earlier. I made tea earlier. I'm still hella tired. Didn't get much sleep last night. The question is, do we climb or no? I look along our routing here. Just skim past some of these mountains. It's like a beautiful lake coming up soon, so I'm gonna keep an eye out for that. That's what I mean about this flight. It's like, what an area to explore. Alright, we're coming out to the mountains. Want to make sure we're just enough far away from the yellow line that we're not going to bar, that we're not going to hit it. Go too slow that we're going to stall, so we're going to come back on the power a little bit more. Get a feel for what the turbulence is going to be like, and then take it from there. I'd say before we, leave the major airport behind us, let's just, double check the systems here, make sure everything's still hunky-dory. We cross over this rugged terrain where our landing options might be limited in case of an emergency. Could be more than one engine. Although some might argue that just delays the inevitable. Is that such a bad thing? That beautiful, like, mountaintop village. That is so cool. Alright, so we're good for now. I think we can make our way nicely along this track. I just don't want to cash in my high altitude chips just yet. Bad timing, but I'm going to need to pee. TMI, sorry. I'll be back in like a minute. Okay, I'm back. Hopefully nothing bad happened. Yep. So we've got the hand on the flight controls here, just in case the autopilot kicks off. Might need to just dodge this hill in front of us. Yeah, as anticipated. That's what's so great about the simulator is that, you know, the weather physics might not be perfect, but it's really good. As you'd expect in reality, flying over mountains on a turbulent day. But there'd most certainly be quite a bit of turbulence. Thing in here, 8 degrees Celsius outside, some leftover snow. Oh, look. Keeping on the airspeed, getting pushed up and down, and you know what, it's not far from reality. I was flying over terrain like this with a friend. Unfortunately, I was not the one flying. Actually, I was flying for a little bit. You'd be surprised how strong an updraft can be. You can just feel scooped up. Back on the power here, we're getting very close to that yellow bar. Oh, there's that lake. I don't know we're going to be so far away from it. Try and get back on course here. Time's getting a little bit over. Yeah, it's almost lunchtime. Always good to have a backup plan if we were to lose the GPS for whatever reason, you know, in like an emergency situation. I would just climb and switch to radio navigation, and we'll try and lock on to or track to Mike Zulu Victor. Park off there. Power. Start to wander towards the lower end of that bar. So yeah, we are basically, this is the kind of terrain that we're gonna be dealing with for the majority of the flight. That's gonna remain bumpy. Hope you brought your sick tablets. Those of you who struggle. I went on a horseback riding adventure through a place like this. Sort of actually just on the southern border of the country. I don't think we crossed over into Lesotho. Not sure, I can't remember. But being on the border of Lesotho, the terrain was much like this. And I tell you, I think it's what, 2 days, 3 days horseback riding through terrain like this was amazing. Across these little villages now and again. Went for a swim in some, lake. Man, I miss those days. Anyways, while we are still relatively clear of terrain, just keep an eye on this bad boy over here, but I think we're going to be able to clear it. Let's have a look around the aircraft here a little bit more. So, this is the COWS, DA-42. I think that's what they call themselves, COWS. Never heard of them until this module came out, and man, I mean, if this is their first attempt at a add-on, I mean, excuse me, they knocked it out of the park. Wise move involving Mr. Barris. Sounds amazing. I think without the sound set, I probably wouldn't fly it. Like I said, I'm not a fan of the G1000, but I am more than happy to tolerate it and sit here and do some, down and dirty VFR flying. If it means I get to listen to these engine sounds. Give you guys a progress report here. Before we go on. Now, why would this thing be... Oh. Alright, there you go. So, we're almost halfway. By the looks of it, that's not bad. Been in the air for I don't know how long. Should have started a timer. That'd have been clever. Yeah, still not the majority of the way through the mountains here. It does look like it's getting quite high. So I think now is as good a time as any to start our climb. So So let's do that. Let's go to 11,000. Let's give some power. That does actually look like we're coming up to a clearing. But yeah, it's those mountains on the other side that concern me slightly. They do look quite high up. There's a handcrafted airport in this country somewhere. It's really cool. I should fly to it more often. Maybe we can find it on the VFR map here. Oh, does it actually draw the routing on the map? That's cool. I just can't remember what the designation is. Okay, we're officially above 10,000. Just as a reference, we're going to start the clock. I really have to get mine. Just as a reference. At 1,000 feet to go. 500 next. Might push it up to 13, we'll see. Okie dokie. It's about to be the gear test. When I was on the main. Okay, we're leveled off, so we're going to come back on the power again. Might have to climb a little further, we'll see. We're now officially timing ourselves here. There is anything to do with heat. According to the GPS, we should have a few airports nearby. Airstrips. Kind of hard to tell. What's that? Come out more to airfields like this. They don't have to be payload. Like I really need my airports to be payload, but the major airports, the small, unpaved airports that I have absolutely no idea how they look like in real life, those are fine. dam down there. Just like a big bridge. What a cool place. Wow, just look at the mountains as far as the eye can see. It's doing well. You know what? I think before we reach the mountains on the other side there, I'm going to make myself some of that coffee I've been craving. Let's, if you can leave you guys in. Passenger view, I think, yeah, I have, but we don't have passengers today, so we're getting really close to this mountainous area. You know what, screw it. I'll wait until we're past this area. It's just, this is the final stretch of mountain. And then, the terrain will start to drop away from beneath us. PMB is the next VOR, so let's put that in, so I'm 1179. I'll have some time to do some DCS flying today. I've yet to stream DCS. I've been trying hard to, well, not too hard, but I've been trying to find time now and again to learn some of the modules. I'm really struggling. I think it's just I'm just jumping. I can't help but jump from one module to the next. I just don't have enough patience to learn one properly before moving on to another. I'm kind of waiting for me to get competent with at least one or two of the modules before I decide to stream. I'm having a lot of fun in the Huey. It's a very basic module, so I could probably do some Huey flying on the stream. I'm also playing around with some online servers, so I think the only issue is I think the internet here where I am living is really crap. I know it's crap. It's in the middle of the day. You know, I'm off. Actually, the rest of the population here is also off. Here the weekend starts on a Friday, so yeah, I don't. From what I'm seeing on the stream, the stream definitely lags more than my live feed does. I think that's because of the connection, I don't know. But in the evening it gets really, really hardcore slow. That's why I can't really stream in the evenings anymore. I think it's just with everyone in the building. This is like I use common Wi-Fi. Everyone in the building is, they all just jump onto the network. Especially now, for those who haven't figured it out yet, I live in a Muslim country. I live in the Middle East, so you know. As per the way of the world here, this side, it's the month of Ramadan. So we have the majority of the population fasting. That means like no food, no water, from sunrise to sunset pretty much. So yeah, even though it's weekend now, I would say many of them are probably sleeping. I think that's why I'm getting away with a decent internet connection at the moment, but as soon as the sun sets, there's no ways I'm able to stream. I'm creeping close to that barber pole again, not barber pole, the yellow band. So, just to be clear, we are allowed to fly in the yellow band, but this is like clear air of speed, you know, so no turbulence. The issue with that is you can never really predict turbulence. I mean, you can, but you can't always predict turbulence. So, what are you going to do if, you know, you hit some rough air when you're flying at like 160 knots? You're going to hurt the airplane. So, you know, realistically, this green band is where you're going to be spending the majority of the time. So there's anything else I can set up here? Map options, terrain. I don't know why I turned that off. Basically following a river, kind of. So I'm going to just deviate a little here. Good way this mountain peak up ahead, so we can just sneak over this gap here. And then as you can see, the terrain's starting to fall away. So I think it's the beginning of the end of the trip for us here. Flight chart again here. Flight chart. You can see that, yeah, we're just about through the mountainous area here. Then I think a lot of this is Vulture Restaurant. Never heard of that. That's interesting. So it looks like we're quite close to some sort of nature conservation area. Ultra restaurant. Choice of words. Maybe like a vulture sanctuary or something. So that means, I don't know why the Navigraph chart drops away. Anyways, that means we're going to want to watch out for vultures. I mean, not really, because flight simulator, we don't have birds in it yet, but yeah, I mean, I think vultures they can get quite high up. They're like really good gliders, so they will use ridge lift and all that sort of stuff, thermal. So we're coming up on a ridge now. Probably a good idea, just with reality, just keep a really good eye out for these things, because they're massive birds. And if you hit one, it might just be enough to bring the plane down, so keep an eye out. Also, let's throttle back here, as maybe we might hit some of that ridge lift. How are we doing? So technically, we can spend as long as we like at this altitude, according to the FAA at least, because fall under general aviation, so I think sort of like private pilots flying, you know, weekend warriors can go up. They can spend as long as they like up at this altitude, as long as it's not above 12,500. 12,500, then we're talking about you need to limit your time up there, but like properly. But I think as far as commercial aviation is concerned, you want to make sure that there is no risk. So basically, you're capped at 10,000. Anything above that is half an hour, and I think 12 and a half up is probably 15 minutes. I can't remember. But yeah, bottom line is, if we were, I think, a commercial operator, we would have to be on oxygen right now. Or at least we would be limited to 30 minutes without oxygen. Bring the power back up. So let's turn back onto course here. It's actually nice and calm the whole way, so that's what's nice. Just a bit of turbulence that we're dealing with. Oh man, this is so beautiful. Oh man, imagine this in reality. How majestic. Alright, so yeah. We've cleared the mountainous region. This is, all along this ridge area is the vulture sanctuary, so I think we'll stay at this altitude until we get closer to airspace, because we're going to start approaching the Durban approach controller, or the TMA at least, but there's no one online. So we shouldn't have to worry about having contact. Not that we would be worried about it, we shouldn't have to worry about running into someone's airspace, but we're going to try and, be responsible, keep in the habit of avoiding airspaces you're not cleared into. Oh, this is beautiful. There's just something about this aircraft that I really love. Like, this is actually is antithesis the word I'm looking for? Let's check. Yeah, this is the antithesis, this aircraft, of typically what I would consider an aircraft that I would enjoy flying. Number one, it's glass cockpit. But I have to say that the G1000 they put in this thing is actually quite beautiful. It looks very realistic. It feels very realistic. It doesn't feel completely like gutted, like the original one did in game. 20% functionality. This actually feels like all the major functions are there. I don't know, I've never used one in real life, so I don't know what the functionality of the real one is. If I recall watching that the missionary pilot, the one who flies the Kodiak there in Papua New Guinea, I think his aircraft are equipped with the G1000, and it looks like you can do like a whole bunch of weight and balance calculations and VNAV things, which I don't think this guy can, although this thing has a VNAV function. But yeah, overall, like this, for some reason this G1000 is really nice to look at, and it's really nice to use. I think the main reason I don't like the G1000 is because most of the G1000s I've come across in flight simulators are just like 10% functionality. That might just be because Garmin has a trademark on Garmin, obviously. I don't know how they get away with using the Garmin name in this thing, if they have to ask permission or whatnot, but man, like I said, for some reason I like this Garmin. this particular G1000. So number one reason why I would expect myself not to like flying this plane, glass cockpit. Number two, they've taken all the fun away, or all the fun out of managing the engine, right? There's no propeller lever or RPM control. There's no manifold pressure control or throttle. There's no mixture lever. So I don't get to sit here and try and lean out the mixture just right to make sure that I get the best fuel economy I can get, or having to make sure that I move the propeller RPM up first before increasing the manifold pressure, that sort of thing. That's all done by a computer. And I'm also not a big fan of the joystick, but it's actually a very small point. That's just me being full of crap. Because gliders have them, aerobatic aircraft have them, and obviously jets have them. So yeah, sure, they have their place. But despite all that, this aircraft is so fun to fly. Start descending back to our original assigned altitude, as I feel like we've comfortably cleared the mountainous terrain behind us and hopefully the vulture sanctuary. This is the gear warning. There's a way to... there is a way to silence it, I think.
Check gear.
And here you go. Check that out. So yeah, what I wanted to say earlier also is discuss the other nice parts of the plane. One of them is the fact that the circuit breakers are all simulated, functional, and I was able to get rid of that annoying check gear alarm by pulling the breaker. Not recommended to be pulling breakers, especially of systems that are there to warn you if something is amiss. But it is what it is. Close to the Pietermaritzburg VOR, so which means that we're actually getting fairly close to our destination. If we look at the chart, we're starting to fly under the TMA. Next fueling will be at 10,500 for us. Go down as low as 7,500, so we gotta incrementally bring our altitude down. And just before we reach the Pietermaritzburg we're gonna target an altitude. Are we gonna be able to get away with something like 5,500? Looks possible. Past Pietermaritzburg itself, we're going to be above elevated terrain. Leveled off, so we're going to go back. Give ourselves some power. level. I think we can make our way down slowly. Bar. Pushed around quite a bit up here. We're at the 25-minute mark. Left 10,500, quite a good amount of time ago, so we're good. Shaka tends to be a fairly popular airport on the network for us, so we'll need to watch out for traffic, airline traffic in the area, make our announcements. So as I get closer to Pietermaritzburg, that's also a well-known airport in the area or nearby. We'll call out our position relative to Port Elizabeth, not Port Elizabeth, Pietermaritzburg. Feet to go. Turbulence here. Power back. airspace wise, how are we doing? Okay, our next one is 7,500, so we actually need to be getting lower. So essentially we have to hug the terrain here. That means we've got to be 7,000 feet or less when we're in that airspace. So we're going to continue at about 500 feet per minute, let's say. So cool. How far are we? 12 miles? Durban traffic. Diamond to Sierra Delta Park per kilo is VFR inbound for Virginia Airfield. Currently we are 11 miles west of Pietermaritzburg and descending through 7,000 for 5,500 feet. Durban traffic. We're crossing over into the next airspace. We need to be less than 7,000, which we are. We're at 6,500 feet. Forward at least. Awesome scenery. you get so spoiled, I guess, you need to remind yourself how amazing this is, because I grew up on Microsoft Flight Simulator. I mean, I've been involved in the Flight Simulator 98, but I think the sim that I spent the most time on was Flight Simulator 2004. MSFS, when I think Microsoft was no longer making flight simulators. I shortly thereafter jumped over onto X-Plane, and then for I guess a solid 2 years that was my jam. X-Plane was where it was at, but you know, I would try and do flights like this, but you wouldn't see this. You know, you'd see those blurry tiles. You wouldn't see what looks like a real freaking airfield up over your nose. Because these trees look like it really does look like a carpet of trees. That really does look like semi-dry, dried out grassy fields. It's really amazing. Let's go to on the tablet. It's very windy. Southerly winds blowing at 1.7, gusting to 2.9. But it's also Caboquet here. Variable 26 degrees. QNH 1016. So there we go, 1016 set. So we can finally see some ocean. We got to get lower because of the vicinity to the international airport. The airspace is quite low, quite prevalent here, controlled airspace. So let's bring it down another 2,000 feet. And come back on the power again. Parameters here. So temperature still good, pressure still good, coolant temperature good, low temperature still good. We still have plenty of fuel. So my alternate airport is called Richards Bay. It's probably another half an hour to 40 minutes up the coast that way. We might seriously have to go there. Hold Although I will say here the wind is not too bad, so maybe we will divert to Pietermaritzburg instead. I say divert because if I look at the international airport, I don't have weather information for our destination. I'm using the international airport's METAR. If we look at the runways, it's 12 knot headwind and a 12 knot crosswind at the international airport. So if we try and break up our airport, let's hold this altitude for now. We're getting uncomfortably close. Let's get the engines equally loaded. There we go. So if we do try and figure out the crosswind component, assuming the winds are going to be the same, we'll assume gusting, well, the worst at 29. Is this thing pulling up so that I don't hit the yellow, or is it just coincidence that I hit an updraft? I think the runway, yeah, it's 23. Crosswind component is 25. I would say that that is probably significantly over this aircraft's tolerance for a crosswind, so we might actually have to divert. Not a bad thing, it means that I can fly another airplane. To take us back. Or we could land at Pietermaritzburg and just say that we drove to Durban. Stick back into position here. I can take control because things are getting yellow there for a little while. Yeah, I think I need to manually take control here. I'll go to spot for the joystick here. Emulate position that the joystick would be in the aircraft, in this particular aircraft. So there we go. It's getting a bit rough here. I'm gonna disconnect the autopilot. I'll keep the yaw damper on for now. I have control. Maybe it would be better if we make our way out this way. Oops. Wow, not really. It is bumpy. So I need to get rid of this flight director. very rough. Try and keep our speed below. But yeah, we need to be below 3,000 feet here already. That's really low. I'm gonna turn away because we're gonna infringe on some airspace here if we're not careful. Is there any air traffic control line? Not yet. I say yet as if there will be. But we all know the sad truth. Turn my head tracker on so I can manipulate the throttles here and while controlling flight controls and still being able to look quickly in the direction. Really being bounced all over the place. Under 1,000 now, again, feet per minute. Trying to maintain that. We are safely below the airspace. We didn't technically infringe in the airspace, you just need to be 500 feet below the airspace as like a safety buffer, but I technically need to get into it. My goodness. Thrown around. Just basically have to hug the ground here. See how far I am from Virginia. 12 miles, so we're at the 10-mile markish. You can say we're north of the field. Traffic Diamond to this year, Delta Foxtrot Kilo is 10 miles north of the field, 2,000 feet, descending to 1,800 feet, inbound to land, Virginia traffic. Power to the engines here. wandered into their airspace. It is unavoidable because the airfield we're flying to is within the airspace of the international airport. We would have had to get permission to enter anyways. I think that's the airport there. Yeah. Should get a lot lower. I think they're using 2-4 for that, so they're going to be coming from my direction to take off. So. Traffic on this Sierra Delta Foxtrot Kilo is 5 miles north of the 1,500 feet bound for the overhead drawing to land runway 23 Virginia traffic. No one's around, so let's do a little beach run, why don't we? Left, sitting to our right. Go ahead and just turn on the lying lights for a little bit extra visibility. Never see a windsock from a flight in this game. So.
Check gear.
Throw the mouth.
Check gear.
Starting to drift off to sleep here.
Check gear.
Is it bad to bring the power all the way back? It sounds like it kind of flattens the blades and gives you a little bit of an air brake. Feels like it too.
500. Check gear. Check gear.
That was definitely not me almost falling asleep. I'll take a break after this one. And yeah, maybe jump into the 146 after this. That or the A320, we can finish off on 146. Can we set up for a visual approach on this thing? We can indeed, that's great. Just for extra situational awareness. I just realized I think I had my mic turned off for the last 20 minutes. Sorry about that. There's the airport. I'm going to do a bit of an unconventional circuit here, just because I'm kind of falling asleep. I think it's time to grab something for lunch. So in case you missed the part where I was explaining about the weather and the winds here, so there's a good chance that we are at the limit of the crosswind limit of this aircraft coming into this airport, so we might have to divert. If we do, I'm thinking we'll go back to Pietermaritzburg. But the actual alternate plan is for Richards Bay, so but the weather looks quite calm at Pietermaritzburg when we were flying over there earlier. Okay, so landing light strobes are on. Basically just going to drop the wheels now and the approach flaps. Now landing flap. Virginia traffic, Zeus here in Delta Foxtrot Kilo is final approach runway 23, full stop landing, Virginia. Okay.
500.
And try and keep about 90 knots. You can see already we're being blown quite, oh my goodness, I can't believe the winds really do, they really are what they were advertised. This simulator, man, when it gets the weather right, it gets the weather right. It's really cool. Meanwhile, the winds at Pietermaritzburg it was bumpy, but it was calm. So I think we're going to have to divert there. Or we can go to the originally intended guy here. But yeah, I'm seeing winds gusting up to 14, 15 knots. This is not good. Nope. Going around Virginia traffic. Approach and gear. It's not going to work. Tell you what, I really don't want to have to prolong this flight. It's long enough for me. So I think I'll try one more time, and if not, then I'll have no choice but to divert to I don't know. I think we'll do Peter Maritzburg. I just haven't been there yet in the game. It's not a not a pay-where airport though. Whereas Richards Bay is. Okay, we can silence this thing. It's getting a little bit annoying. Alright, we're gonna, like a fighter jet, drop our wheel here. Final. Oh, we still, no, we got flaps up, so flaps approach. No one's in the area, so I'm just gonna report for final approach. Supposed to be showing 3 green lights. Oh. Okay, that's because I turned off the circuit breaker. Alright. Flaps full. Losing a bit of altitude, a bit more altitude than I intended here.
500.
We're still being blown so strongly off course here. I don't think, look at it, we're going sideways. Again, I'm going to just try and hope for a gap as we get closer. Continue traffic, Daimond 00, Delta Foxtrot Kilo, final approach weight 23. Full stop landing, Virginia. I am not doing this on purpose. Kind of calms down, I'm not gonna lie. Just there by the tree line. Those are 8. You're up. 5-star approach. Going around Virginia traffic. I think my choice of aircraft can be a lot better at Richards Bay. Okay, flaps coming up, and we're just going to orbit here for a little bit just to kind of make up our minds. Keep us here at about 1,000 feet actually. Traffic, so we here Delta Foxtrot Kilo is entering right-hand orbits here on the left downwind for runway 23. We'll advise returning to the field next. Virginia traffic. Should have said how high we were going to be flying, but it's fine. No one's around, I think. So our choice is as follows. Let's see what our fuel is doing. Our fuel's still okay, it's still decent. Well, let's call up Richards Base. we are much closer to the coastline now. We don't get weather for Richards Bay for Flight Simulator. Striking shotgun. The one ray's wider and longer. I'll try that one first. Shotgun traffic. Diamond Zulu Sierra Delta Foxtrot Kilo is 10 miles south of the field, 1,500 feet inbound to land. King Shotgun. Excuse me, sorry. Overshot my altitude like a pro. one's texting, no one's speaking, no one's around, so I'm just going to join on the left and down for this runway 24 and then try our luck there. Set like a mute button for my coughing. I'll try and do that for the next stream. doesn't want to slow down. I see any aircraft on apron.
Check gear. Check gear.
King Shocker traffic, Daimond 00, Delta Victor Kilo is left downwind runway 24, King Shocker.
Check gear. Check gear.
Okay, coming down.
Check gear.
Green.
500.
Flaps to approach. Get some power back. Getting about 100 knots for now. There's the landing. If I have to use the whole runway, I'm going to use the whole runway. Crosswind is pretty much the same here. We can try and wait for like a gap.
500.
Shocker traffic, Daimond 00, Delta Victor Kilo, final pressure rate 24. King Shocker. Not bad. Not bad. Gonna use a little bit of RPM here on the right, correction left to keep myself from being pushed off the runway. We are right aileron into the wind here. Should probably push the nose wheel into the ground harder. But yeah, we made it. Wasn't the prettiest of landings, but it was definitely not my hardest of landings. Yeah, we are almost full right rudder here. Using the left engine to try and keep us, trying to offset some of the left tendency here, tendency to go left. All right, we made it to the bigger airport. Wait, was there a... According to the charts, there was supposed to be a turnoff. Did I miss the turnoff? Why is the engine making that sound? Is that because the wind's coming from a different direction? I don't see another turnoff there. There's a scenery behind now. We actually have more taxiways here. Let's see if there's no one coming or going. We're good. Alright, so just for collision avoidance, I'm gonna keep the taxi lights on for this one, or put the taxi lights on for this one. We're gonna say King Shocker traffic, Daimond Zulu Sierra Delta Foxtrot Kilo is clear runway 24 on hotel. We'll continue to apron Echo via Alpha and Papa. King Shocker traffic. So there's Alpha that we're on, and Papa is coming up. I don't know what ramp this is, but we're going there. I mean, it's better than having to go all the way to Richards Bay now. I mean, like I said, if we had unlimited time on our hands here, I would, but I want to try to get to Cape Town before the end of the day. I mean, if we do a night flight, it's not the end of the world. Might not be a bad idea. We could do a night flight in the Airbus, do the 146 next. Alright, so the wind is kind of blowing from behind us, so we're going to just make a U-turn here to face into the wind so the engines can get cooled. I was going to do this, but I forgot to. Stand by on this transponder. Lights are off. Radios are off. Actually seems to leave one radio on still. Yeah, and it actually correlates with the X-Pilot. I mean the V-Pilot, which is cool. Oh, we got the flaps up. Flaps coming up. Let's trim ourselves back to take off. The engines get a good time just to cool down a bit. Right, now the way you turn them off apparently is just by switching these switches off. Just realized I didn't put the fuel pumps on, which again I don't think is necessary, but I put them on just to be safe. When we left Bloemfontein, I didn't put them on in these very turbulent conditions, which I think probably would have been a good idea. Either way, we made it, just about. It's very windy here today. It should make for a interesting departure later. I think we'll do the 146 next. So you're gonna have to allow me some time just to break for lunch and then also download and install this the new 146, new version of the 146. So yeah, I'm super amped for it. Really excited to experience the new BAE 146. I've been craving a proper FMC in that thing for the longest of time, like since getting it, and I think I bought it shortly after it was released. So I'm thrilled that we finally get a decent FMC for it. Along with a bunch of other cool little features. So let's do that one next. Don't know what's up with me today. The the central AC is extra dusty or what? It's really annoying my sinuses. and my throat. So I'm going to try and organize a mute button for my microphone so that I can cough without disturbing your ears. I can only imagine how annoying it must sound. Once again, I apologize for that. We'll try and sort that out for the next stream. As mentioned, look forward to it. It's going to be the new BAE 146 version 2 with all the cool new features in it, including the new UNS FMS system. We'll be probably departing from here and making our way to Port Elizabeth. I'm not sure. It might actually be the A320 first. We'll hop into the new updated A320 from Phoenix at some point. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. I'd like to squeeze in the 737 at some point as well, but we are running out of time, or shall we say daylight hours, and I've got other stuff to do, believe it or not. So yeah, we'll see what I can squeeze in, but I definitely want to do the 146 before the day ends today, as well as the Phoenix A320. Thanks again for joining me. I hope you enjoyed our adventurous little trek through the mountains today. Yeah, to be honest, it went a lot quicker than I thought it would. Awesome that the weather varies as much as it does in reality. Pretty much for 95% of the journey, the wind was calm. It was just turbulent. I was wondering if the extreme gusty winds were going to be recreated accurately when we arrived here, and last minute as we arrived, as I think we flew over that last little bit of escarpment, yeah, winds as per the METAR, and it is gusting with a stiff crosswind, especially for some light aircraft such as this one. But yeah, that necessitated that we come to the bigger airport with the wider and longer runway so that I had a little bit more wiggle room. Virginia has exactly the opposite type of runway, and it would have been extremely challenging to keep us on the center line, well, actually on the runway, let alone on the center line at that airport, considering that we were all over the place on this wide runway. But nevertheless, we made it without striking any propellers or wings on the ground. No crazy bounces. Yeah, pretty chuffed with that. Thanks again for joining me, and I hope to see you for the 146 stream. We'll call it at about maybe 30 to 45 minutes. Thanks again, and see you in the next one.